My name is Debbie Dineen. I'm the Sudbury Conservation Coordinator. Myself and several commission members will be speaking on behalf of the Conservation Commission. We want to thank you for the opportunity to provide some information to MEPA to help you with your review of environmental damage and what we feel will be the environmental damage for the project. We're offering this in the context of MEPA's responsibility to sort of flesh out the project details to ensure no damage to the environment. That is your goal. Again, I would just briefly echo the town manager's comments. We would like an extension of the deadline based on the last minute changes today. It was a lot to try to absorb in a short period of time, and we need more time to look at what these changes actually mean for damage to the environment and how it affects us. The MEPA regulations state that damage to the environment is addressed if the project proponent first avoids, then minimizes, then mitigates any unavoidable damage. With those MEPA goals in mind, our comments will address these MEPA requirements. We will be providing comments along with the Board of Selectmen and Town Managers' townwide comments, but I did want to get a couple of our major concerns out in the open right now. First of all, avoid. Well, certainly avoidance was not considered with the choice of the underground route along the MBTA. Even with the revised numbers released today, there will still be 13,794 square feet of tree clearing, of which 12,962 square feet will have permanent fill and bordering vegetated wetlands. It's a smaller number than it was before, but that doesn't make it a whole lot better. That's still a lot of fill in bordering vegetated wetlands. As Mr. Bergeron explained, there will still be a total of 5.5 acres of wetland alteration, and some of that will be in what he referred to as BLSF, or bordering land subject to flooding, which is sort of the regulatory term for floodplain. So that to us is a big red flag. Sudbury's mostly a low-lying geological lake bed. We have large areas of flooding in town near the Sudbury River, Washbrook, Landon Brook, Dudley Brook, and Hop Brook. 4 of the 5 of those flow under or adjacent to the proposed route along the MBTA right-of-way, both on the eastern and western sides of the project, which accounts for our 2 national wildlife refuges, our Great Meadows National Wildlife Refuge on the east and the Assabet River Wildlife Refuge on the west. These rivers all have expansive floodplains associated with them. The loss of flood storage in Sudbury is a critical issue. In 2009, Sudbury, when we had all those large back-to-back floods, Sudbury virtually became an island. The state brought in the duck boats from Boston to ferry people across the Sudbury-Wayland line. So we take loss of flood storage very, very seriously in town. That is a big issue for us. It's unclear at this point how much fill will be in a floodplain. What are we going to lose? And that brings me to MEPA's requirement for mitigation. Right now, there's nothing proposed. There is no mitigation. There is none. None that we've seen. The ENF does not offer any wetland replication, compensatory flood storage volumes, or any other type of replacement or offset to any of the nature services that we rely on in Sudbury. These are nature's free services that provide quality drinking water, protect us from flood damage, provide wildlife habitat, protect state-designated cold water fisheries, and provide passive recreation. They also attenuate pollutants from developed areas. We are relying on MEPA to require the project developer to first determine the best alternative that does not result in damage to the environment, and then require the necessary mitigation for any unavoidable environmental value or function losses. This is extremely important. The town depends on this. We request that MEPA require a complete and fair alternatives analysis. The ranking system is fatally flawed, and appears to be skewed to favor a predetermined outcome. Dave Henkels from the Conservation Commission will be addressing a little bit more about that. Lastly, the Conservation Commission wants to inform MEPA that we're not just involved from wetland regulation perspective, we're direct abutters to the project. We have our Hop Brook Conservation Land, which I think everybody got a good view of and an appreciation of what that is. What we saw was a small part of over 3,000 acres of protected land that the town, the state, and the federal government have spent a lot of time and a lot of money preserving for passive recreation and those free services that nature does provide us that we do rely on. So Sudbury has spent, just for comparison, over $25 million since we adopted the Community Preservation Act in 2001 for permanent protection of open space for passive recreation. That's a lot of money. We've put a lot of time and a lot of effort into what we have, and this project can come in and destroy that. And it will make all of our efforts and the state's efforts and the federal government's efforts really seem like they were for nothing. It's something that the town feels very, very strongly about. So we ask that MEPA do its mandated due diligence and investigate actual damage to the environment, not only from construction, but from operation and maintenance of the project. And we are willing to work with Eversource to identify a realistic alternative that preserves the values and functions and of our wetland and our environmental areas. And the Conservation Commission strongly encourages that the draft EIR look very, very carefully at the alternatives, in particular the, let me see if I get the what you call this right, the noticed alternative, which I believe is the street alternative. That would be something that will have the least damage to the environment. And when you look at adding costs into that equation, please consider the cost of the free services that this environment provides us. Thank you.
Thank you.